welcome back to the Weekend Journal, the Lansing Update. I'm Jack O'Malley. Appreciate you being here with me on a Saturday. Of course, after the show airs on News Talk 580 WTCM, it will appear magically, if I get it right, on YouTube and on Facebook. So if you don't catch it when it airs, you can obviously catch it later and watch at your leisure and listen at your leisure. Also, of course, if you're not within earshot of News Talk 580 WTCM, you can listen online each Saturday at 10. That's WTCMradio.com. All right, let's recap. So I planned to talk education today with Launch Michigan, and then the House kicked out its budget this week, so I was able to finagle Chair Kelly, who talked about that a little bit. I'm not going to go through the whole budget and that sort of thing because it's a lot of numbers. And one of the things I know on radio specifically, or even here just talking, numbers are a hard thing to grasp. I think the key components so far of the K through 12, the higher ed, and the MyLeap is this budget really looks like no other budget there has ever been. And it doesn't necessarily cut. It puts money in places that is not traditional. And as I said to Chair Kelly, I think it was a very strategic thing because they changed so much. So what happens when you go into negotiations is the Republicans historically say, okay, this is what we want. The Dems say this is what we want. And the governor has what he or she wants. In this case, she wants, right? So, and then you have to say, what are your priorities? Well, the Republicans have a lot to give because they've changed that budget so much that I don't think the Democrats can change all of it, to get the compromise from the Republicans to the point where there's going to be a lot of changes to the budget. Now, some will say for the worse. From what I can see, it looks like there's going to be a lot of good in there. One of the things that I think is going to be very interesting is in the higher ed. Basically, what they've done is the higher ed budget says, we're taking X amount of money away from U of M and MSU, and we are going to give students in Michigan a $5,500 grant, if you will, or what do they call them when you go to college? You get money. And we're going to give it to you if you go to a Michigan university. So what they're saying is, look, you get more kids from Michigan to come here. You're going to get that $5,000 investment from the state to each kid. So that's going to help make up some of that money. But the other part of that is that money that's not going to U of M and MSU is going to be given to the 13 other universities in the state of Michigan, which is something that's not happened. One area that I did see that I wasn't a fan of, there is a slight cut to community colleges. Personally, I think community colleges are the gold. They're the diamonds because that's where the vast majority of people go for education and training anymore because it's local, it's affordable, and so on and so forth. And they retrain so many people. Community colleges are great, as Tony the Tiger would say. So we'll see how it all plays out. The chair says, maybe not July 1st, but somewhere in and around there. But get ready for the wailing and gnashing of teeth for the next few weeks as that all gets washed out. So it'll be interesting to see. All right, let's go to the Lansing update, other things that are happening. So far, there's been, in Lansing, the discussion that the Republicans aren't talking to anybody. They haven't talked to Winnie Brinks in the Senate. But the governor and the speaker have talked, but not necessarily. Anyway, late last week, the three of them did sit down to talk for about a half hour. And the Senate Majority Leader Winnie Brinks' spokesperson said it was productive. We'll see. Let's see here. What else? Okay, this is an interesting scenario, and I'll tell you why I say so. I am not a fan of Colonel Gasper, who is the head of the Michigan State Police. I'm sorry, did I say Gasper? Grady. Colonel Grady. Gasper was before him, I think it was. Grady. And his Lieutenant Colonel Amy McCrombie. There's been a lot of stuff going on there. And they took a vote of basically the Michigan State troopers, and about 1,200 responded, and 98.48% said we do not have confidence in our leadership of Colonel James Grady. I want to make sure I correct myself there. And pretty much immediately, the governor comes out and says that Grady has demonstrated strong and steady leadership at the helm of the Michigan State Police. The governor's office has full confidence in Grady. Now, what's interesting there is you've got all the troopers saying, we don't like this guy. There's been a lot of shady stuff going on, in their estimation, and we don't think he should be leading us. And there's a lot of other people that think the same thing, but the governor stands behind him. It took me back to COVID, believe it or not, and I'll tell you why. During that whole COVID and all of the executive orders, and people would say, you need to stop doing this, Governor. You need to do this. Why aren't you letting these businesses open up? Someone who was involved in all of that said, and it stuck with me, that the governor would rather appear ignorant, foolish, weak, but as opposed to weak. She would rather look stupid than be seen as weak. And this is one of those things. Troopers, you're not going to tell me what to do, even though it's probably a good thing to do. Does not want to look weak. Bowing to the troopers. Okay, here's one. Vaccine choice. Vaccines obviously are a big deal in discussion, right? I am a person who I'm okay with vaccines. I got the COVID shot. I know a lot. What are you doing, Jack? It's everybody's decision. It's like a mask, the mask during COVID. You want to wear a mask? I don't care. But you can't force someone to wear a mask. That was one of the problems with the governor. Real quick, I'll just say, she expected everybody to wear a mask. If you got 86 to 90% compliance, you should consider that good and move on. But she forced things on people. Well, vaccine of choice. We have to understand there are some people, whether they be right or wrong, don't want vaccines, right? And so when I was a rep, again, I would say, you get the shot. It makes sense. It's proven, et cetera, et cetera. But if a constituent said, well, I don't want to get the shot, then don't get it. It's like cigarette smoking. What, you say? I would not recommend you smoke cigarettes. But you know what? In America, you have the right to smoke them if you want to, right? So there you go. Anyway, they have a bill that would basically put into the Constitution to protect people from having to get being discriminated against, or it's not a constitution, but in law, House Bill 4552 and 4553, basically saying you can't discriminate against people who do not want to get a vaccine. All right. The Senate, Democratic-controlled Senate, on party line votes, passed out a bill, Senate Bill 134, that would basically restore the power to the Attorney General under what Frank Kelly had years ago. And it would allow the AG to investigate and press charges against businesses suspected of deceiving customers. It would be, they would say, consumer protection type stuff. Well, the Chamber of Commerce is not for it, saying we'd be going backwards if that were to happen. And they say, unfortunately, this partisan bill would expose all state-regulated businesses and professions, including doctors, lawyers, banks, auto dealers, casinos, et cetera, to abusive litigation, class action lawsuits, inconsistent judgments, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see. Keep an eye on that, see if it makes it through. Probably wouldn't make it through the House. Okay, here's one that probably doesn't mean much, but some people would want to know. The Senate passed a bill, 2215, so some of the Senate Republicans went along with it, allowing civil celebrants to be township supervisors and lawmakers to conduct marriages, weddings. The The bill would allow township supervisors, state legislators, and civil celebrants who are at least 18 years old and in accordance with the wishes of the client. Some were opposed to it. Senator Kevin Daly called the legislation another blow to the sanctity of marriage. But that's just a Senate bill. We'll see where it goes. So there is a bill going through the House. Maybe it's two bills, a House, that would say the governor has to call a special election within 30 days. If you remember, we've talked about the Senate district, the state Senate district that does not have a senator now for 159 days, which I believe is a record. In all fairness, Whitmer is not the first governor to take their time dragging their feet on a reelection, but she has set the record. Under this bill, the governor would have to sign it within, or call the special election within 30 days, and it would have to happen within 180 days. So this bill, I think, has a shot because the Senate has to understand that this is kind of an important thing. And whether you be a Republican or Democrat, the governor is being told, whoever they are, you got to do this. So we'll see how that proceeds. I think it's good legislation. Makes sense. You don't want to play politics with that. Oh, okay. It might be back. Remember the start of this year, all the discussion was about tipped wages and sick time. And the House and Senate came together along with the governor, and they passed legislation that kind of saved the day, if you will, for some crazy legislation that the Supreme Court said had to go through. You know the story. I won't replay it all. Well, one fair wage is back under a new name. They're called now Voters to Stop Pay Cuts. They are trying to get on the ballot again another proposal that would set the minimum wage and so on and so forth. That would happen quicker. In response, Justin Winslow, President and CEO of the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association, said that the represented this PA1 of 2025 represented a rare outcome voters hope for from the elected officials, but rarely experience a true bipartisan solution. And here again is my problem. I do understand the idea of ballot proposals from the people. I'm not taking it away from the people per se. But I do believe that at least in the last 10 years or so, these ballot proposals have become written by the people who want it. There is zero vetting. I've talked about this. It's zero vetting. And like this one fair wage and sick time bill that passed X amount of years ago and then got amended by the House and the Supreme Court got all upset about it. That was the bill that said you could not report to work for 3 days, not tell anybody about it, and you couldn't get fired. Remember that? That was written by a group of people who thought they knew it all. And that, as I remember, that was written by a group out of California, not even Michigan. So, again, I have problems with that. I understand why we have it. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but we need to have a better way of making sure. Well, one thing is we as voters have to read all the proposals. All right, let's see here. What else? There's a bill moving through the Senate, bills 19 and 20, saying that if you are a landlord, if you do not repair things within a certain amount of time, the tenant can repair them and take that out of their rent. And there's some other provisions in there too, trying to make sure that our landlords do not screw over their tenants. Okay, all right. So you've heard me grumble about the DTMB, right? Department of Technology Management and Budget. I want to know what technology does. We have the Secretary of State, $9 million program that still doesn't work. Now the UIA, the Unemployment Insurance Agency, they're spending like $20 million on a system that doesn't work. So my question is, what does DT, the Department of Technology, actually do for the state? How about we have a oversight committee on that one? Michigan bottle bill. There is discussion. Is it time to make a change? There are some who say we need to add water bottles and that sort of thing. But our return rate has dropped to a record low for the state of Michigan. Many believe partly it's 10 cents isn't worth it anymore. The pandemic also got people out of the habit. The question is, Do we need it? What should we do? Should there be changes? One of the problems with the bottle bill, remember, it was a litter bill back in the 70s, and 70% of that money that doesn't get returned back to the people goes to the state. And it's supposed, part of it goes to the state for environmental things. Some of it goes back to the retailers, a very small amount of it, I believe, so that they can use it to pick up all these bottles and whatnot. I've also heard that our deposit bottle return is one of the reasons why we lag in recycling, because the money thing is the aluminum can, and we don't generally put that into the recycling system. So it'll be interesting to see, but just know that there will be discussion, I think, about our Michigan bottle deposit law, and is it a good thing? Another thing here, how much time we got? All right, just about a minute. I want to get this on the screen because I think it's important. When it comes to energy, you're going to start hearing more and more about carbon capture. And I think, from what I've heard, it's a great idea. They take the CO2 and they pump it down into the caverns underneath us, which Michigan, I guess, is fantastic for. And they can use that to make products. They can use that to pump old oil, oil that's still down there, out. Carbon capture could be a great thing for the future. Of course, there are some issues, as with anything. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But keep an eye on carbon capture. Let's see here. Let's real quick, I'll throw in University of Michigan, real questions. A third situation with a Chinese student and smuggling. Interesting to see how that's all going to play out too, but it is something we have to keep an eye on. Why is U of M, and I'm not saying it's necessarily a problem with U of M, but it is a problem we'll have to keep an eye on. All right, I appreciate it. I had a good show this week, I think, talking education. We're getting close to the seconds here. I'll tell you what, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Truly, very special. And of course, as I like to say, it is a great day to be alive. Next week, 10 o'clock, we'll be back with the Weekend Journal. You'll get this show on Facebook and YouTube coming up yet this afternoon. Take care, everybody. The Weekend Journal. Jack O'Malley saying adios.